Welcome to the part 2 of chapter 3, European penetration and the British conquest of India. In this lecture we are going to take the growth of British East India Company, trade and influence that was taken from the period of 1600 to 1714. So in this period we are going to discuss like how the British entered into the arena of the capturing India and what are the reasons behind it, how they got the Farman from the Mughal Empire and how was their start. Okay, and similar things we have seen that the East India Company was backed by their own parliament, similar like the Dutch East India Company. Okay. So these all things we are going to discuss in this lecture. First, moving ahead to this lecture, I will request you to please like and subscribe. This is a new channel, I really need your support. Further, I will request you to please go through this video till the end so that you will have a complete picture of it. So how the British started into the India, how they surged into India, how their rule became entered into India, as the Mughal were already ruling into the India, how they got so much power that they started to rule India. Okay, so when British entered, it was not a fight happened or not invasion kind of things was there. It was in the form of request. They requested the existing government means Mughal only, and they took the Farman, that the kind of rights and all to do the business in the arena where the Mughal Empire is present. Okay, and in the most cases in the northern or in the Deccan part, the Mughal had a very strong standing, a strong control. Okay, so the influence of British was less in that part, but as the Mughal, when we move to the southward, Mughal does not have that much of control. So British felt independence, British felt free during doing the business in the south. Okay, so that is the whole summary. What are those things we will see. So British had a very humble beginning. They established their factories at multiple places through the Farman of the Mughal. Okay, and what are the various places like the Surat, Khambat and Masulipatam and all. Okay, so the Surat, Broch, Ahmedabad, Agra and Masulipatam, if you see, these all regions are seashore. Okay, these all regions are near to the seashore. Why? Because their ship will come there, that they form the harbor on those regions. The ship, they will drop their export items and they will import also. They will take up the items from the India and they will sell in their regions. Okay, in Europe. Okay, that was the whole concept. So these were the regions where they had established their factories initially. Surat, Broch, Ahmedabad, Agra and the Masulipatam. Okay, they used to trade and diplomacy with the war and control over the territories where their factories were situated. Okay, so the main motive of the main that they used to follow, that when they established their factory and the factory started to use for diplomatic control, like the government control over the region. Okay, monopoly kind of thing they wanted for that regions and all. They wanted to build their fort. So all those things, if you want to do construction in a particular area, there is an actual thing, obvious thing, that you have to take permission from the government. So in that case there is a Mughal. So they used to trade and diplomacy with the war, control over the territories with their factories, where they have situated the factories. Okay, so whatever the things they used to do, it happens in those regions where their factories are established. Okay, so the conditions of the British in the south were more favorable as they did not have to face a strong Indian government. Okay, and even the empire, when the Vijayanagar Empire had broken down, so the unity was not present at that kind of thing. So it was not a challenging part for the British to have a rule, to have a control, not rule, to have a control in the southern part. Okay, so the great Vijayanagar kingdom had been overthrown in 1565. In the 1565 Okay, the your East India Company was formed in the 1600 only. Okay, so the great Vijayanagara kingdom had been overthrown in the 1565, and its place were taken by the number of petty and the weak states. Okay, so the first factory they opened in 1611 at Masulipattnam, but soon shifted their activity to Madras, at least granted by the local rajas. Like, see, whatever you have to do, you have to take the permission, you have to take the farman kind of thing from your government, whether that government is strong or the weak, but you have to take the permission to have the to show that yes, I have the permission to do that job. Okay, so similar kind of thing, they took the permission from those weak rulers and they established their factories in the Madras and the Masulipatam regions and all. Okay, so they in that rights they allowed for the fortification which had been called as the Fort St. George. Okay, so further the island of the Bombay was captured. So how it was not literally captured, it was given to them in the form of dowry. Okay, so the island of Bombay was captured and fortified in 1668. Okay, remember 1611 was the first that was captured by them in the Masulipatam first factory. Okay, in the south. Further, the island of Bombay was captured and fortified in 1668, and Bombay superseded Surat as a high quarter of the East India Company on the west coast. Okay, in the west coast. In eastern India, British Company opened its first factory in Odisha in 1633. Okay, for the eastern part, if you see, so they opened the first. In the south, Masulipatam was the first for opening the industry, and in the eastern part, for the camera there is eastern part, so in the east, Odisha will be your first where company opened its factory. In 1651 they granted the permission to trade at Hooghly in Bengal. Then after that we will see that the Kolkata will become the center of the trade and all. Okay, so they granted the permission to from the Hooghly in the Bengal, and soon factories opened in Patna, Balasore, Odisha, Dhaka and other places in Bengal. Thus it made clear political ground for the Britishers. So why political ground? I am saying that they established their factory, right? And so why they are telling the political ground? The reason behind telling the political ground is that they established the diplomacy control over the regions where they have factories. They started to control over the land areas, the people, the food grains, the taxes and all. Thus, that's why it is said that thus it made a very clear political ground for Britishers. Okay, so now their grounds are cleared. Like now they can have a control on the taxes and all. Okay, as they had established a number of factories in those regions. Okay. Hostilities between Mughal and the English broke out. The Britishers thought that now we have a control, now we can capture the regions for the taxes and all. Okay, so the war happened. The fight went with the Mughals, and they completely misjudged the Mughal. At the time the Mughal had a very great power, Aurangzeb and all. Okay, and it was a peak power of the Mughal. Okay, so the hostilities between Mughal and the English broke out in 1686, where Britishers completely misjudged the power of Mughal under Aurangzeb. Remember, Aurangzeb was the one who killed the Sikh Guru. Okay, he captured the Shivaji's brothers and the mother as well. Okay, that we have seen in the long back. So the war ended disastrously for them. They lost it. Their factories at Surat, Masulipatam, Vishakhapatnam were seized. Okay, and the Bombay fort was forced to surrender. Okay, so these were the repercussions that the government had taken, that the Mughal had taken. Okay, as you have a fight with that government, you are going to fight with the government to showing that I am a great power. You lost it. So wherever you have the factories and the control of the Mughal was there, they captured it, they seized it. Okay, once again Britishers with the humble heart, they went to the Mughal. Please allow us, we won't do it again. So once again British came back with the humble gestures and ready work under the rulers again. Mughal again fell into their humble and the flattery gestures and granting tradition concessions. So it is like nobody is going to even during that time Mughals, they completely misjudge in the form that what these business company will do. They are the business company, they want to do business and they will take away and they will go away. Why should have a strict control over there? they they do not have any idea what these British East India Company will be able to do. That one day they are going to capture, one day they are going to capture whole India. They do not have that idea. Why they do not have the idea? Because they do not have a knowledge of the western part that they have done. Like Britishers had completely destroyed the western part of the world. Okay, they had a capture over those regions and all. So they do not have the idea of the world. What is going on in the world? They knew about only the part of the India. Okay, this is India. We are doing that kind of works. We don't bother what is happening in the world. And the lack of information happening throughout the world by the Britishers, mainly in the West, made them to allow to do business in India. And as soon they allowed, and we will see that British would be going to capture India, to rule India. Okay, so Mughal were completely unaware that one day these harmless looking foreign traders would pose a serious threat to the country. They looked it as a benefit for their empire and treasury, because they were getting tax for the import and the export. Okay, so Britishers were weak on land but supreme in naval. But it is said that Britishers, our Indian were also very great in navals and all, in the building ships. So it is said that they have also learned much more from us in the building ships. Okay, so they were supreme in naval. They were like, they like adventures and all. Adventures is mainly uh, added to mainly that is concentrated to Spain and the Portugal. Okay, that's what when the India and the your America was discovered. Okay, so they exported the product from India to Iran, West Asia, Northern and the Eastern Africa and the East Asia. Okay, so this was a soft start how British surged into India as a East India Company. Okay, now we will see the Calcutta formation, how Calcutta was formed. So when we will see that Calcutta was formed mainly from three villages. Okay, later these three villages grown into the town and they formed into your Calcutta. Okay, now it is Kolkata, and there is one village that that named from the Kolkata only. Okay, so in 1698, you will see there from 1639 and all those things are going. Odisha was captured, and then they granted the permission for the Hooghly as well in 1651 as well. Okay, so in and there was war happened in 1686. Okay, now in when after the getting the humble gesture from the Mughal, they in 1698 the company acquired jamindari of the three villages. Which three villages? Sultanati, Kalikata and Govindpur. Remember Kolkata and Kalikata both. That's why these whole regions will be termed as the Kolkata. Okay, so from the name of the village from the Kalikata. Okay, so in 1698 the company acquired jamindari of the three villages of Sultanati, Kalikata and Govindpur, where it built Fort William around its factory. Okay, so similar kind of Fort William and Fort George was built in the south, and here also Fort William has been built and still it is there. So the villages soon grew into a city which came to be as known as a Calcutta. They remained a petty jamindar. They are still they till Nawabs Murshid Quli Khan and Alivardi Khan ruled over there. Okay, they were like, we are acting as a jamindar. We will collect tax. We will give you Chaut and Sardesh Mukhi, some percentage of the to Nawabs, and we will control. We will maintain the army for you, and those things we are doing in the normal way. Okay, so they exercised strict control over the English traders, and no privileges were provided by them. By whom? The Murshid Quli Khan and the Alivardi Khan when they were ruling. After when they died, and when the invasion happened, the thing was revealed that Mughal is not that much of powerful now, and then again attack will happen by the Britishers for the control, for the tax control. So the British business increased more than the thrice from 1708 to 1740. 1707 Aurangzeb was dead. Okay, so the British business increased more than thrice from 1708 to 1740. British settlement in Madras, Bombay and Calcutta became the nuclei of the flourishing cities. Large number of Indian merchants and the bankers attracted towards these cities. That is towards the city, that is Calcutta only. Okay, they attracted towards the city for the business, because in the short interval of time the city became a great center for the business. Okay, the Charter of 1600 granted the East India Company the exclusive privilege of trading of east from the Cape of Good Hope. So if you see, that is Africa, so Cape of Good Hope is here. Okay, so for a period of 15 years. Similarly, after you see, I think 1604 or 1606, around this period only, Dutch East India Company was also formed and they were backed by the Parliament. Okay, similar, the charter was similar, the right was given to the East India Company for the Britishers as well, and they were allowed a right to have a trade from the for the 15 years from through the Africas and all. Okay, the trade between India and Europe was completely reserved for the private East India Company for the Britishers. So this I am talking about from the end of England. Okay, so it was like no other company was allowed to do trading and do trade with the regions. Okay, so that is no other company apart from this East India Company were allowed to do business from India for next 15 years. From next 15 years, that is from 1600 to 1650 now. Okay, but this got extended and they completely had a monopoly over the trades from the India, from the east. Okay, so that was the one thing, and thus this East India Company became much powerful because they had a monopoly over the regions, and thus they started to control, they started to rule over India, and thus they started to have a very great power. Even it was feared from the England side, from the west side, they may supersede the government as well. Okay, the people working in the company were seen as, sometimes it was seen as a more powerful than the government. So just imagine what kind of power they established from the India, from the ruling, and because of that monopoly only, because of that charter, that is the grant that was given to them. And after that we will see that the British Parliament started to control over them as it happened, because the other companies that were in the England, they had jealousy. Why this company is given so much privilege? We should also get the right to do the business from the India. Okay, and then we will see that different kinds of imposition happened, different kind of imposition, and the rule started to impose on the company, and the company started to lose its monopoly from the trade, from the doing the business from the India. Okay, but this was the only reason, due to the charter or due to the grant that was given to the company, they established that huge power, that great power. Okay, now the Anglo-French and the struggle in the south, that what kind of struggle they had faced with the French and all. So French also had a control over the southern part, mainly in the southern part and all. Okay, so we will see East India Company schemes of territorial conquest and political declination, which had been frustrated by Aurangzeb at the end of 17th century, were reviving during the 1740s. What is it? I will say. Remember, in around 1680s and all, the British misjudged the power of Mughal and they had a war with the Mughal. Okay, and where they lost it very, very bad, disastrously. They lost that war. After that, with the humble gestures and all, they went to the Mughal, they went to the Aurangzeb, please give us right, we will work, we are ready to work under you and all. Okay, that happened. After that, Aurangzeb died in the 1707. After that, during the 1740, as the invasion happened by the Nadir Shahs of the Nadir Shah and all, where the peacock thrones were taken away, where Shah Jahan's peacock throne was taken away and it was plundered. The whole cities of Delhi and all was plundered. So what this reveals that Mughal is not that strong. Someone from the outside is coming into the territory and they were plundering your regions and going away. What does it mean? It means that you are not that strong right now, or you are not strong now. Earlier you were strong, now you are not. And this revealed to the British that now we can attack and we can have a control over the regions and we can have a great tax. We can have a control over the diplomacy of those areas. Okay? So this thing revealed, the Nadir Shah's invasion all revealed to the British that now you can have a control over the region. So the scope of British got reduced in the western India due to Maratha presence. Yes, Maratha had a control over the region and they are very good in guerrilla tactics. Okay, so they reduced, British got reduced in the western India due to the Maratha presence, and the eastern India due to Alivardi Khan's strict control. But in the Deccan parts and all, in the southern part, they had a control. So in the southern, the conditions were little bit favorable for foreign adventures, where we will see the French were also had a control over it. Okay, so after the death of Nizam ul Mulk Asaf Jahan from the Hyderabad region, from the Deccan regions, further declination of the central Mughal authority, where Maratha continuously invading the Deccan and the south for the Chauth. Okay, so it was like the rule of the Mughal was deteriorating. And as soon as the strong ruler of the Deccan also died, the whole structure of the Mughal got declined, and the your Maratha started to invade those regions, impose the taxes and all. Okay, thus political unsettled condition rose for the region. Not unity kind of things was present. By the end of 17th century, okay, that's 1699 and all, British removed its rivalry, Portuguese and the Dutch. Remember, they removed the Portuguese and the Dutch from the region. But French emerged as a new rivalry for them. From 1744 to 1763, around 20 years, continuously bitter war happened between the English and the French. And this fight did not happen only in India. This fight happened throughout the world, in the Europe as well, in the America as well. Okay, so it was like in the America, if they are winning the war, let us suppose in the America, if the English is winning the war, then in India they are losing the war. Then they have a makeup like okay, we'll settle these things. It happened like in the south, if the English is winning, then the America, the English was losing. So that kind of things was happening throughout the time during that period. Okay. So French East India Company was founded in the 1664, and it was established at Chandernagore near Calcutta and Pondicherry on the east coast. All those things that is happening in the near the seashore only because of the business, because of the ships and all. Okay, so that their import and export will be easy. So later they also fortified. Several other factories were at east and the west coast, and also had a control over the islands of Mauritius, Reunion in the Indian Ocean. So this company was also dependent upon the French government, French state of that time, as it was corrupted. So it was seen that, and it was true that British employees were more disciplined than French. Okay, French were not that disciplined. French were corrupted. But if you see the Britishers employee, they were not in the surge of corruption. Okay. So French state was of that time was corrupted, inefficient and unstable. It was not towards looking unlike Britishers. British were looking for the control, for the that government control they want into that region. But it was not like for the French. French was like, I'm doing business, I will come and I go. Okay, and that similar thing the Mughal misjudged for when they allowed the Britishers to do the business in their arena. They also think like, what this British will do, this East India Company will going to do. They came for the business and will allow them to do business. But the Britishers were of the far thinkers. Okay. So, thus control by the such estate could be the injurious to the interest of the company if you have a kind of corruption, inefficiency, unstable and all. And if you don't have a far sight, you are not going to be developed. Windows XP was there, Windows 7 came, Windows 8 came, Windows 10 came, now Windows 11 is going to come. What it reveals, change is required. Okay, you should look forward every time for the success. Okay, so that kind of mindset was with the Britishers. Okay, and that was lacking in the French. So in 1742 war broke out in Europe. Remember, in Europe, not India, between France and England. And if a war is happening in some other place, there will not be a friendly relationship in the other country, in the south. Okay, in the south the British and French were there. Okay, so the war in Europe soon spread in India between two East India Company, French East India Company and the British East India Company, and it ended in 1748. But the rivalry in the trade for India continued, like who is going to control. Okay, so the Dupleix, the French governor general, came, and they had a separate section for it. He does a very good had a very influential kind of stuff that he has done. Okay, so Dupleix, the French governor general at Pondicherry at this time, evolved a strategy of well disciplined and modern French army. He understand what kind of issues are lagging behind the French army, so he made more disciplined kind of things, modern rivalries, modern equipments in the fight, intervening with the petty quarrels of the Indian princes and supporting one against the other and earn the profit through it. So it is like they knew there is no central authority right now, not strong central authority, and there are different states present there. It means like there is a no unity kind of things, there is no patriotism or nationalism kind of feeling in that period. Okay, what happens after that? They started to support one king of the one state, and in the behind they also supported another king, and they made them to fight with each other. And this kind of what I will say, disunity happened, quarrels happened, unstable stability got disturbed, and in that case they make their profit to the business and into the ruling arena. Okay, so intervening with the petty quarrels of the Indian prince and supporting one against each other and earn profit through it was his main motive. Thus, he planned to use the resources and the armies of the local rajas of the French company interest and expel the British from the India. Okay, so the main motive of those intervening within the quarrels of the two kings was to get profit, to kick out British from the business. Okay, the only barrier was the refusal of the king for any foreign intervention, as they were not guided by the patriotism but by narrow-minded pursuit of the personal ambition and the gain. So it was like, let us suppose if any greedy things, or if any things was given to the king, like I will give you that much coins and all, whatever things, whatever the greedy points were there at that time, the kings were get attracted toward it, because there were no patriotism, nationalism kind of feelings, like no, this is India, we are a part of India, we should be together. No, it was not like that during that time. Okay, and thus it was easy to break all those local kings and all. Okay, that's why I'm telling that it was not stable. So in 1748, Dupleix got the chance to show its talent in Carnatic. Remember, this is very important. In Carnatic, Chand Sahib began to conspire against Nawab Anwaruddin. Okay, he in Carnatic, Chand Sahib began to conspire against the Nawab Anwaruddin, that he was supported by English. Okay, he was supported by English, and Chand Sahib was supported by French. Okay, what French was doing? We will support one king, we will use their armies. My army was also there, but I will use their army to fight, to kick out British from the India. Okay, so thus they supported Chand Sahib to conspire against Nawab Anwaruddin. Why? Because Nawab Anwaruddin was being supported by the British. Okay, while in Hyderabad, the death of Asaf Jahan happened, and Nizamul Mulk was followed by a civil war between his son Nasir Jung and his grandson Muzaffar Jung. We have seen all those things for the thrones and all. Okay, So the Dupleix seized the opportunity and concluded a secret treaty with Chand Sahib and Muzaffar Jung. So in that case, Hyderabad and Carnatic both went together, okay, to help them with his well-trained French and the Indian forces. And in 1749, the three allies defeated and killed Anwaruddin in the battle at Amber. Okay, so it means at that time Britishers lose the war. And we will see that similar things again will happen. Okay, where French will lose. Okay, see, in that scenario, Britishers lost the war. So the rest of the Carnatic passed under the dominion of Chand Sahib, who rewarded the French with grant of 80 villages around Pondicherry. Okay, now in Hyderabad too, French was successful. They entered into it. Nasir Jung was killed and Muzaffar Jung became the Nizam of the Deccan, as the Muzaffar Jung was being supported by the French. He rewarded French by his giving his near territory of Pondicherry as well as famous town of Masulipatam. Masulipatam also was given to them, and 80 villages was given during by the Chand Sahib, as the French supported them, trained their Indian soldiers as well. Further, awarded huge sum of money to the troops as well as yearly money was given. So he was made honorary governor of the Mughal dominions on the east coast from the river Krishna to the Kanyakumari. Dupleix used his brain, and by the diplomatic tactics he literally won that thing, and he showed his governorship at that time. Okay, so the Dupleix stationed his best army at the Nizam's court to provide protection, but indirectly it was made to make French influence at his court, not to British. Okay, so Dupleix said that I will give you my standing army in your court, and in order to it was like I am giving you protection, but indirectly what they were doing, they were protecting that empire from the British, that literally declining the influence of British from that regions. Okay, accidentally Muzaffar Jung was killed due to some things and all. Okay, during some poison or anything, he was killed by accident, and the third son of Nizam ul Hukm was sat on the throne. In return, Nizam granted the French the area of Andhra Pradesh and all, known as the Northern Sarkar, still there, and other 4 districts. So thus Dupleix plan succeeded beyond his dream by making Indian estates at the front. Okay, so he supported similar small states, get the control on the interest of their on the belief, and as soon as they made them, he made them victorious with the fight with the Nawab Anwaruddin, who was supported by the British. Thus he earned their loyalty. Okay, and they started to believe in them. Okay, and the Dupleix didn't thought that much, he earned more than that. Okay, thus Dupleix plan succeeded by supporting small kings, and he made Indian estates French. Okay, and it benefited to the French. Okay, now Dupleix, the French governor general, about him only. Okay, so how this happened, the French I will tell this Anglo-French struggle I was telling about. So now we will see that how this going to be the end. Okay, now it was the part 2 of it. Now we will see, this was your part 1. Okay, this was the part 1. Now this is your part 2. How? Now what Britishers has done? Britishers are not going to sit silently. French has come and they are ruling, and I will sit down and I will see what is going on. No. On the other hand, Britishers were not silent. Give me some break. Okay, sorry for this small glitch. So on the other hand, Britishers were not silent. They were increasing its influence with the Nasir Jung and the Muhammad Ali. Okay, with the control of the Mughals and all. Okay, so they captured Arcot, Tamil Nadu regions with only 200 English and the 300 Indian soldiers. They entered into that region. They captured it. Due to this, French and the Chand Sahib were forced to boundary in Tricipoli regions only, and French forces were repeatedly defeated and Chand Sahib was killed. Okay, at British got support of the Nazi Jung and the Muhammad Ali from the Mughal regions. Okay, and they entered into the region, they killed the Chain Sahib, and they established they took the control over the maximum part of the region from the south and Pondicherry as well, where only 200 English were there and 300 Indian soldiers were used. Okay, so thus in 1754 peace deal was signed between the peace deal was signed due to fear of losing its American colonies. Okay, so it was like in the America also there was fight was happening. So in that case, French and the America had signed the deal where the peace deal was signed between in the 1754. So this temporarily peace ended in 1756. It was signed in 1754, and again it broke in 1756 when another war broke between England and the France. In the very beginning of the war, English managed to gain control over the Bengal, and they had a control over the Bengal. Yes, the French also fortified their regions in the Bengal regions, but English had a great control. So they managed to gain control of the Bengal. The decisive battle war fought at the Wandy Wash outside in the 22 January in the 1760. Within a year, French lost all the position in India. Okay, French started to lose all those regions. The war ended with the signing Treaty of Paris in the 1763. And now French factories in India cannot be fortified, and they have to work under the British influence. They cannot have their own personal troops, and they lived under the British protection. The British had a full control overseas as well. Okay, so what was the important lessons that Britishers learnt? One important thing, there was no feeling of patriotism and the nationalism. Another, you support the small kings, petty kings, and earn the profit from it. Okay, it was like make a fight between two things and earn profit from it. So due to the lack of nationalism, they can control any territory by taking advantage between the quarrels of two different states. Okay, and it is a famous thing, it is a famous strategy of Britishers. Even in the movies and all, you will see these dialogues being used. Okay, Western advanced infantry and weapons can easily crush the Indian army, as they lost during the Aurangzeb time, and after that they started to think like if we have a modern equipment, we will be able to defeat them. Okay, and further they came to know like when we train the British Englishmen, similar training if we give to the Indian men, they will become a good soldier, and they will start to fight from our end, because there is no patriotism kind of feeling. They can kill their own enemy, own men, that they will be able to kill Indians only. Why? Because they are working for the British, and there was no feeling of patriotism or nationalism like these Indians, though they are not from my country. This kind of feeling was not there. Okay, so giving training to Indian soldiers like European will become as good as European military, since lack of nationalism can make them to hire and fight in any war from the British side. In the against, whether there is Indian or the French, who is there, they will not bother. They will, if they are working for the British, they will fight from the British end. And why they are being hired? Because there was no nationalism. They didn't think like we are killing my own men. No, it was not like that. Okay, thus British made great army under the Englishmen with the Indian troops called sepoys in the English. Thus British East India Company embarked on an era of wars and the territorial expansion. Okay, so this was all. I hope you have liked this video. Please like and subscribe. This is a new channel. I really need your support. Further, if you want any on-demand video lecture, please feel free to ping on my Twitter handle. Thank you.